Yeah, Isaacson was actually mistaken a little bit in his understanding of the situation. Um, Obviously, SpaceX have provided Starlink connectivity for to Ukraine really since the beginning of the war. We're really within I think a few days of the war starting. Um, and as the Ukrainian government said, the Starlink was instrumental in the defense of Ukraine. So, they've said that really many times, although the media forgets to mention that. Um, so, you don't have to take my word for it. You can just read what they posted. Um, you know, uh, so, uh, so Starlink has been incredibly helpful to the Ukraine war effort. We've gone out of pocket very significantly to help them, and but at the time this happened, the region around Crimea was actually turned off. Now, the reason it was turned off was actually originally was because the United States has sanctions against Russia, and we're not allowed to actually, and that includes Crimea in the sanctions, and we're not allowed to actually turn on connectivity to a sanctioned country without explicit government approval. Which we did not have from the U.S. government. So, so basically, Ukraine didn't give us any advance warning or heads up or anything. But we just got the sort of urgent calls from the Ukrainian government saying that we needed to turn on Crimea. It's like in the middle of the night, basically. And we're like, "What are you talking about?" And then we basically figured out that this was kind of like a Pearl Harbor type attack on Sebastopol, on the Russian fleet in Sebastopol. So they're really asking us to really proactively take part in a major act of war. While we certainly have huge empathy and support for the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian government is not in charge of U.S. People or companies. But I should say that, although I'm not President Biden's biggest fan, if I had received a presidential directive to turn it on, I would have done so, because I do regard the president as the chief executive officer of the country. Whether I want that person to be the president or not, I still respect the office. And so if I gotten a request from the president type of thing, from the American president, to be clear,
Yeah.
then I would have turned it on, but no such request came through.
You're now being attacked. I saw there was there's Jake Tapper the other day on CNN interviewing our Secretary of State. He was all lathered up, basically attacking you for this. David.
Yeah.
David.
To his credit, Secretary Blinken was actually quite supportive, despite the absurd, accusations and leading questions of Jake Tapper on CNN.
Yeah, he didn't take the bait, to his credit.
To Secretary Blinken in this regard for not, taking the bait at all.
I mean, my point is just, if you had never given Starlink to the Ukrainian government for free, voluntarily, you just volunteered it, then no one would be attacking you right now for not turning it on so they could do their attack on Crimea.
Yeah.
Also, one other thing I'll note is that your reason for not turning it on, which is you don't want to be part of what could be a major escalation, was exactly the reason the Biden administration did not give ATACMS missiles to Ukraine at that point in the war. Now, they may be changing their minds, but they were very worried about an attack, the administration was, an attack on Crimea, triggering some huge escalation in this war. So not only did you not receive a directive from President Biden, your thinking was very much in line with theirs at the time, and
Right, exactly.
and you're being attacked for that now.
There's something you mentioned, which is that you did this at a lot of economic cost to SpaceX.
There's, well, I should say, like a lot of people contributed to the effort. Starlink is the fundamental communication backbone of the Ukrainian government and essential services like first responders and that kind of thing. And it, is used. We hope peacefully, relatively peacefully, on the war front. It is the only thing that works on the war front. Everything else is being jammed by the Russians. So it's the only thing that works. not one of the things. You know, but I think you have to sort of think of, say, taking the actual example of Pearl Harbor, and say like, well, how did that work out for Japan? It didn't work out well at all.
Right.
Because it was a tactical victory, a strategic defeat. It enraged the American public, who sort of naturally wanted vengeance for the SAG. And I think that while I don't think it's on the same scale, that there was certainly that potential of sort of a mini Pearl Harbor, with resulting in a mass escalation of hostilities. But not this would not defeat Russia. It would enrage Russia.
Do you donate?
Obviously.
Do you donate the network, or do they pay you for it?
Sorry.
Do- Yeah.
So I'm actually not sure what the final accounting is at this point, but I think at one point you calculated our sort of cost of supporting things at roughly $100 million. Now the $100 million does not count the massive risk to the entire Starlink constellation, because Russia would like to have the entire thing deleted. Nobody's compensating us for that. So if we were to get, say, our control center were taken down in a cyber attack, they could command all the satellites to deorbit and destroy the entire system, or use anti-satellite weapons. This is a pretty significant risk, for which we have not received any compensation, and obviously would be catastrophic to the entire Starlink system, which is approaching $10 billion. And then actually, I'd say one of the rather vexing things was, as you've seen, there's a very large amount of money that's been appropriated for Ukraine. I'm not sure what the total is at this point, but it must be close to 100 billion, or somewhere between 80 and 100 billion. Now all of the other sort of providers, U.S. providers of support to Ukraine, are being paid. So then, why should SpaceX be excluded? That doesn't make sense. We're doing one of the most valuable things, and yet are getting the least money. This is absurd. But despite that, we're still happy to keep going, and aspects of interests aligned with President Biden, who probably do not wish good things for me. I don't know, really what their issue is, but there does seem to be a significant increase in the weaponization of government, I'd say really sort of misuse of prosecutorial discretion in many areas where, and I think this is really a dangerous thing for, for I don't know, for there to be partisan politics with government agencies. It's just really, and then I think from say, Democratic Party standpoint, or say Biden administration standpoint, I think this is the danger here is that if there's significant misuse of prosecutorial discretion, let's say one says, okay, everyone's equal under the law. Yes, but who are you choosing to pursue? And if you're pursuing what appear to independent voters to be trivial cases while ignoring serious crimes, it's hard to imagine that a lot of independent voters, that's going to win over thoughtful independent voters.
Did things change when you bought Twitter? X?
Yeah, I think they did change somewhat. Our goal with the sort of the X platform is really to be a level playing field, a public square that is supportive of most of the country. Let's say that the middle 80% or something like that. That's not been the case really for all social media. All social media have been really very left-leaning to far left-leaning, and really Twitter was far left-leaning. You know, the suspensions of say Republican candidates or interests or voices was really at least 10 times the rate of suppression of left-wing voices on, you know, on old Twitter. So you know, what I'm trying to do is move it to the middle, which from the standpoint of, say, the left, appears, it is moving to the right. Everything's relative if you're standing on the left. But it's not, it's simply moving to the middle, that's all, in an attempt to actually represent the whole country, and not just, you know, half the country or even maybe less than half the country. So that's it, really. So I think there's really nothing to be alarmed about here. It's, you know, it's just that it's intended to be a town square inclusive of the whole country and also, you know, and the world. That's all.